Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Maria Bartiromo reporting yesterday, per her sources, no Durham report / indictments pre-election.
But first, this breaking news and my take. It is unlikely that we will get a John Durham interim report or any indictments before the election. Now just 37 days away. A debate has begun within the Department of Justice as the timing of John Durham's criminal investigation conclusions. I'm being told by sources it is now too close to the election and could be viewed as politically motivated. However, I can confirm Durham's investigation is significant and it is expanding. Reports Friday that Durham has expanded the scope of his investigation to include the Clinton Foundation donations while Clinton was sitting Secretary of State. The same group, remember, at the FBI was leading these two investigations. It was led by former FBI agent Peter Strzok. He was overseeing both investigations, one into the Clinton use of an unsecure server and one into Donald Trump's alleged collusion. They were treated extremely differently, even though there was no evidence found of wrongdoing for Trump and gross negligence found in Clinton's handling of her unsecured server. Again, I believe, based on my conversations with sources, it is unlikely you will hear any conclusions by John Durham by November 3rd.
If that turns out to be true, that is
heartbreaking.
That is a terrible disappointment. It is also a broken commitment from Attorney General Barr. As much as I like him, you have to call it as it is. And Attorney General Barr said, we will know what happened in 2016 into 2017. The American people will know what happened in 2016 in 2016 into 2017 before the election, because it's important they know. That wasn't a commitment for indictments. It wasn't a commitment even for the report, although it was sort of a commitment for the report. He said they'll know. And if there's no Durham report, I don't know how we'll know, other than
we won't know.
Other than you continue to have investigative journalists like Paul Sperry providing more information to confirm that you had a straight up coup attempt by the top law enforcement and top spy agency of a sitting president. That's what occurred. And these are from, and by the way, this is being ignored by, I don't know, 60% of the country. 60% of the country doesn't care. These are the same people, by the way, who don't care, refuse to acknowledge this, continue actually to perpetrate the Trump-Russian collusion lie while talking about peaceful transition of power. And they're so aghast that Trump would not be full-throated in his support for this push for a all-mail-in election, the moving around of deadlines and requirements for mail-in ballots in Pennsylvania and Wisconsin and Michigan, elsewhere. So it was the FBI who was colluding with somebody they suspected to be a Russian agent. It was John Brennan at CIA who was cooking the intelligence estimate. Paul Sperry, RealClearInvestigations.com. Intelligence Community Assessment on Russian Activities and Intentions in Recent Elections. The ICA, 2 weeks before Trump took office, that cast a cloud of suspicion over his presidency. Brennan, reports Sperry, personally edited a crucial section of the intelligence report, assigned a political ally who was a Clinton supporter to take the lead role in writing it, after other career analysts disputed Brennan's take that Putin intervened in the 2016 election to help Trump. Dissenting analysts found that Moscow preferred Clinton because it judged she would work with its leaders, whereas it worried Trump would be too unpredictable. As Secretary of State, Clinton tried to reset relations with Moscow to move them to a more positive and cooperative stage, while Trump campaigned on expanding the U.S. military, which Moscow perceived as a threat. Putin, according to two officials who Sperry talked to, thought Clinton was going to win, viewed Trump as a wild card. Also, these same analysts, according to a U.S. intelligence official who participated in a 2018 review of spycraft behind the assessment, quote, they complained Brennan took a thesis that Putin supported Trump and decided he was going to ignore dissenting data and exaggerate the importance of that conclusion, even though they said it didn't have any real substance behind it. So there's your director of the CIA cooking it on the one side. You have the FBI, which we talked to with Brett Baer about on Friday. How much coverage did that get over the weekend? The FBI,
Zero.
The subsource for the Steele dossier was somebody who was the subject of an FBI counterintelligence investigation from 2009 to 2011. We know his name. He's Ukrainian. And then we have these text messages that have been unearthed as part of the documents released in association with the Flynn case. And the intelligence, FBI workers they use their internal messaging system, link messaging system. Their identities have been blacked out. But these texts, January 5th, 2017, Obama's 2 weeks before Obama's last day in office. He was supposed to get a Russian hacking briefing, President-elect Trump at the time. And the text message, more time needed to build case. What's the word on how O's briefing went? Don't know, but people here are scrambling for info to support certain things, and it's a madhouse. Another said, Trump was right, still not put together. Why do we do this to ourselves? What is wrong with these people? His briefing was delayed. Trump tweeted out, at the time, the intelligence briefing on so-called Russian hacking was delayed until Friday. Perhaps more time is needed to build a case. Very strange. The FBI, one of the FBI agents, Trump was right, still not put together. Why do we do this to ourselves? What is wrong with these people? 5 days later, according to court documents, those same employees texted again with one revealing how we all went, quote, we all went and purchased professional liability insurance. That's how much exposure they thought they had for what was going on at FBI with respect to the incoming administration.
That says a lot.
I mean,
Liability insurance?
what
Hello?
in God's name? And I know that, the people that don't like Trump are going to say, I don't care. I don't care because I don't like Trump and I want him gone. So I don't care if they attempted a coup on the president-elect of the United States and into his presidency, I should add. I don't care. Not worried about that being a precedent setter. And are you going to lecture me about peaceful transition of power? This is remarkable. Made all the more remarkable by the indifference of half to two-thirds of the population. For more on this, we're pleased to be joined by Lieutenant Colonel Jim Carafano, VP of the Catherine and Shelby Cullum Davis Institute for International Studies at the Heritage Foundation. Jim, am I losing my mind, or is what I said fair?
Well, so I have two thoughts. One is I think this does illustrate or illuminate really the failure of the Fourth Estate, of the press, to really credibly do their job. Instead of blindly accepting a narrative, much like they did before the Iraq War, not trying to objectively investigate, not do the kind of things Woodward and Bernstein did back in the day, but essentially worked on selling a narrative rather than truly doing investigative reporting. I really believe if we'd had fair and impartial investigative reporting all along, we wouldn't be where we are today. And we wouldn't be sitting breathlessly waiting for a report from the Department of Justice to have a pretty fair idea. I mean, look at all that's come out despite the fact that the press has failed to do anything. I think the other interesting observation is when you think about how much we got done on foreign policy the last 4 years, and how really kind of fearless the administration was, despite all the distractions and the attacks and everything else, driving on and doing right policy and not just kind of, reacting or trying to cover up, to deal with the press. And the foreign policy accomplishments are actually pretty impressive. And you think of that, all that's done with a completely adversarial press, which is essentially taking the side of the president's critics. It's remarkable how we've gotten this far.
Well, William Barr, I'm a little disappointed because he said we'd have the Durham report by May, then by June, then by end of the summer. And now he's saying if they release it now, it'll be political in nature. And
Well, he's not saying
but
he's not saying anything.
Do you think that that's the real reason why?
Well, here, look, I think the truth is going to come out. You release indictments and information when they're ready to be released, not by a calendar, because when this comes out, you better have your act together. And I personally am not. Look, I think we have enough information out there that people care. They can make judgments on these things. But I'm not terribly worried about the timing of the election. If it's after the election, if the work is good and the case is strong, it will stand on its own. Even if you have an election that goes the other way, they're never going to be able to bury all that.
I don't know.
Do your job.
I don't know. And I mean, on the timeline thing, yeah, I get it. I get the investigations aren't on a timeline. They're not on a political timeline. I get all that. Look, they're also not, on a timeline of in perpetuity. And everybody works on deadlines that we're only here for a short period of time. Deadlines punctuate life.
But investigations, they decide what the timeline is. And, we have a great case study of this. Comey tried to play this game with the Clinton emails and stuff, get stuff out, don't get stuff out, rush to get it out, don't get it out. And he failed miserably. So I think this is kind of it's a no-win situation. So my advice would be when the report is done or the indictments are ready, whatever, that's when you put it out, and then you don't worry about it.
Well, I know, but this prompts the question: what's taking so long? I mean, these investigative reporters can put together this sort of information. You would think that the investigative team of Durham would be much further down the road, and I just don't know how you explain how long this is taking.
Go to a judge, right?
Yeah,
and a jury.
I understood, but here's the other thing. I mean, just let's sort of establish a baseline here. I mean, if the reporting is accurate on Brennan and FBI. Well, we know FBI is largely accurate. The Brennan is, unidentified sources, even though multiple Paul Sperry's a good investigative journalist. But let's just assume for the sake of argument that it's accurate. I mean, how do you describe this other than a coup attempt?
Well, I mean, the comments on Brennan, I think, are completely consistent with what we know about Brennan. He was a political operative from the beginning. He never treated any of his assignments in the Obama administration other than essentially shilling for the administration. But I'm not sure that's an indictable crime. I don't know. I guess we'll have to. And this is, I think, the difference is malfeasance and misjudgments and everything else. But the question is can you take it to a court of law and convict somebody of an actual crime? And I think I thought you said it best. People know how they're going to vote in this election. They don't need this report to do this. What I want from this report is justice. The one thing we do that makes us a democracy and makes us a real government is, in the end, the rule of law trumps everything and prevails. And that's what I want to see happen.
Well, I know you and me and everybody else. Well, not everybody, but a lot of people that people that actually believe in the rule of law and don't think that establishing a precedent that your CIA director and your senior leadership of the FBI can try a fifth column action against an incoming president and walk away unscathed from it. I mean, I would be very, if all of this checks out, there are enough tripwires. I mean, Barr has talked about sedition. He's used the S word, sedition, when it comes to Antifa and organized violence on the streets. How is this different? This is organized violence by other means.
Well, again, we'll have to see, what indictments are set down, and
what about
how much people actually straight over the line.
What about Wray? I mean, if Trump wins re-election, should Christopher Wray go?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm a bit conflicted on this. I look at the broad sweep of the FBI. And the more you dig into this, there are specific individuals within the FBI who clearly were just bad apples. There's no question about that. They destroyed the reputation of the FBI. They blemished the work of so many good people that are there. My focus is I want to see those people, all their sins brought to daylight, and if they committed crimes, I want to see them punished. I don't think the entire FBI as an organization should suffer for the work of some people. And look, at the end of the day, I blame Comey. Even if he didn't commit a crime, all these people worked for him. He was in charge. He was the captain of the ship. He's taken no responsibility for the fact that he had agents gone wild on his watch, and it all happened under his supervision. And that's fine. He wants to say he's not a bad guy. I get that. But he failed, and he should look at the American people in the eye and say, I failed you. I let these yahoos run wild, and it's all my fault. And he's never said that. Instead, all he's done is blame Trump.
Before we let you go, I want to get your insight on another one of America's enemies, in addition to Brennan and Comey, Chinese communists. I'm talking about. We had a Chinese virologist who has sought refuge in this country go on Tucker Carlson show last week and talk about the virus, COVID-19, being hatched in a lab and being purposely spread by Chinese communists. We have an American lawyer named Michael Sanger who's saying the Communist Party has been promoting an international disinformation campaign to promote nationwide shutdowns in a bid to cripple rival economies. How much credibility do you attach to those assertions at this point?
Well, I at this point, I still think there are those are assertions. To me, the more interesting was the arrest of the cop in New York City who was essentially spying on Tibetans for the Chinese government. That, I think, is just the scab at the top. I mean, there was so much Chinese espionage going on inside the United States. We need to really wake up to that. Now, the other stuff, how they're operationalizing that, I think, we've got to systematically unpack that and really understand it. Because, we really have to know factually what the nature of the Chinese threat is so we can go after the threat and we're just not chasing phantoms and rumors. But so the thing in New York, that ought to be a wake-up call for a lot of people.
He is Lieutenant Colonel Jim Carafano, VP of the Catherine and Shelby Cullum Davis Institute for International Studies at the Heritage Foundation. Jim, thanks as always.
And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
You've made the switch, and it feels so good. You've switched to Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
The following is a paid political announcement.
Hi, I'm Dr. Willie Wilson, and I'm running for U.S. Senate for the state of Illinois. I will never give up on inclusion and equality, prison reform, reduced property taxes, and economic opportunity for all. I want to get to know your neighborhood and the problem that you face every day. And I want to serve every man, woman, and child in the state of Illinois. A vote for me is a vote for you.
Paid for by Willie Wilson for Senate 2020.
Hi, my name is Ryan Bourne.
And I'm Danica Bourne.
And we're the owners of South Coast Tax.
South Coast Tax are Christian-based tax accountants and attorneys who specialize in releasing bank levies, wage garnishments, and filing complex tax returns.
We are the leaders in acceptance of offers and compromise with an average settlement of 3 cents on the dollar.
Call us today
at 1-800-TAX-3156.
And we will explain all the programs that you qualify for in order to allow you a fresh start. Again, that number is
1-800-TAX-3156.
Many of us are still working from home. Hopefully that will change soon. But if your company is working remotely, then you know how important it is to protect health and security of your computer network. COVID has added an additional layer of security concerns, placing your network and local servers at risk. Since April, hacking has seen an increase across many industries, affecting small businesses to large-scale institutions such as hospitals and universities. Data breaches, phishing scams, just a few of many ways hackers are deviously accessing your network. Now's the time to safely take your company's servers virtual with Turnkey.